Welcome back, class. We're going to be talking about Chapter 5, Sound Recording and Popular Music. The song that you're listening to is Pop Music by M. It's a 1979 song and a project by English musician Robin Scott. It's from the debut album New York, London, Paris, and Munich. The single, first released in the UK in early 1979, was bolstered by a music video that was well received by critics. The clip featured Scott as a DJ singing into a microphone from behind an exaggerated turntable setup, at times flanked by two female models who sang and danced in a robotic manner. In this chapter, we will examine the early history and evolution of sound recording, including the shift from analog to digital, and the changing relationship between record labels and record stations. Shine a spotlight on the rise of popular music in the United States, trace the changes in the American popular music scene, such as rock's move into the mainstream and the proliferation of rock alternatives like folk and grunge, analyze the economics of the sound recording industry, including how music labels, artists, and other participants make and send money in an age where paying to own is changing to paying to access. Consider sound recording's impact on our democratic society today by exploring such questions as whether the recording industry is broadening participation in democracy or constraining it. So, what are record labels? Companies that market recorded music and videos. Record labels engage in a wide range of functions in the music industry, including new artist recruitment and development, known as A&R, music publishing, and copyright enforcement. So what are the indies and who are the big three? Well, the indies are independent record labels, and one of those was Big Machine. You may know a few of these popular recording artists: Taylor Swift, Tim McGraw, Rascal Flatts. They have a lot of country artists. XL Recordings had Adele on their label. The big three, though, they are Sony, BMG, Universal Music Group, and Warner Music Group. So there are the big three. There used to be the big four, but when Universal Music purchased EMI in 2012, so once when they were the big four, now they're just the big three. So how does pop music push the boundaries of the First Amendment? The First Amendment to the United States of the Constitution requires that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, and that includes songs, song lyrics, and musical performances are forms of speech, and they are protected by the First Amendment. The First Amendment challenges to music have focused on claims that the lyrics of some songs that have been published and recorded have been obscene. So that brings about some music censorship cases, like one against the singer Ozzy Osbourne. Also, hip-hop group 2 Live Crew. So, how does popular music really push the boundaries of the First Amendment? Well, those ideas would be obscenity, inciting violence, and is music harmful to minors? Why is music worthy of constitutional protections? Well, we believe that our societies are better off when there is a free exchange of ideas. Yes, there are inherently bad ideas, but we must not police expression of ideas because the risk of good ideas being stifled is too high. So there was a song, Suicide Solution by Ozzy Osbourne, and that was challenged in court. Also, the 2 Live Crew album definitely deserved a parental advisory label. So let's talk about the evolution of a medium. Before recordings, people had only one way to listen to music. Can you guess? Well, you'd have to play it yourself, or sing it yourself, or go watch somebody else play it live, or sing live. With the advent of sound recording, people could also buy recordings and listen to their favorite music as often as they would like right in their own house. So let's talk about the inventor, the developmental stage. Inventors experimented with sound technology. Second, we have the investor stage, the entrepreneurial stage. People sought to make money from their inventions. Sound recording finally reached the mass medium stage when entrepreneurs figured out how to quickly and cheaply produce and distribute multiple copies of the recordings. So an inventor comes in with curiosity and wants to make something new, develop a new invention of some sort, such as the phonograph. Investors come in and try to think, hey, is this practical? Is this invention marketable? How much does it cost? Are consumers willing to invest in that technology? So if we're talking about a phonograph, such as what Edison developed in the 1870s, and eventually other recording machines, playing back machines, and media, are people willing to invest in that technology, such as buying that phonograph in order to play those records that they might be buying? So these investors, people sought to make money from whatever invention was provided, and sound recording quickly reached the mass medium stage when entrepreneurs figured out how to quickly and cheaply produce and distribute multiple copies of those recordings. And think about marketing to those consumers. It really puts the pop on popular. So how do we engage and advertise to the public and get them interested in buying our invention and get them to think, I have to have this. I must go out and buy this. So in the 1850s, French printer Edouard Léon Scott de Martinville conducted his first experiments with sound recording using a hog's hair. Yes, a large pig called a hog have these bristly has this bristly type fur. It's like a hog's hair, bristle as a needle. He tied one end to a thin membrane stretched over a narrow part of a funnel. When he spoke into the membrane, it vibrated and the bristle's free end made grooves on a revolving cylinder coated with a thick liquid. He never figured out how to play back the sound, but it was part of the developmental stage. So sound recording was created for recording the voice, kind of like an answering machine, and later used for music. In 1877, Thomas Edison determined how to play back sound and market this machine, the entrepreneurial stage. He recorded his own voice by developing a machine that played foil cylinders known as the phonograph. From the Greek roots, phono meaning sound and graph meaning writing. He patented the phonograph in 1878 as kind of an answering machine. In 1886, Bell and Tainter patented an improvement on the phonograph and called it the gramophone, which played more durable wax cylinders. Let's talk about a gentleman, Emil Berliner, a German engineer who had emigrated to America and made the sound recording into a mass medium. He developed a turntable machine that played flat discs, similar to the records you might see today, made of shellac. He called this gramophone and patented in 1887. He also discovered how to mass produce these records by making a master recording and then duplicating them. Also, his records could be stamped in the middle with the song title, performer, and songwriter. So by the early 1900s, these record-playing phonographs were widely available for use in homes. Called Victrolas, they were mechanical and had to be cranked with a handle. Electric players were first available in 1925, gradually replacing Victrolas as more homes were wired with electricity. Here's another issue. When shellac was needed for World War II, the record industry began making records out of polyvinyl plastic. These were called 78s because they turned at 78 revolutions per minute, or RPMs, were less noisy and more durable. Other forms of mass music recordings include discs, vinyl, tapes, cassettes, different types of tapes, 8 tracks, then cassettes were made portable with the use of Walkmans, etc., CDs, MP3s. In 1948, CBS Records introduced the 33 or LP long playing record, which contained about 20 minutes of music on each side, and this created a market for symphony, ballet, and other classical music. The next year, RCA developed a competing 45 record with a larger quarter-sized hole in the center, easier to play in jukeboxes. could not be played on competitors' record players at that time. But in 1953, CBS and RCA came to a compromise, an end to the marketing battle. Record players were designed to accommodate both types of LP for albums, 45s for singles, and 78s, as well as 33s. The advent of magnetic and audio tape and tape players in the 1940s paved the way for major innovations like cassettes, stereo, sound, and digital recordings, made it possible for sound editing and multi-track mixing. By the 1960s, engineers had replaced reel-to-reel and developed portable cassette players. Just to mention, entertainment and enlightenment, recorded or broadcast lyrics and style can change the world. It can change your world each day. You may listen to different types of music, which might bring you back to a time in your life where you have fond memories, maybe a hard time, etc. It might change your mood. A lot of people use music when they exercise, when they dance, when they like to feel a certain way. Changes in the music industry: pop music, rock music, blues, R&B, and rock gatherings, concerts, etc. Music helped to cope with the uncertainty of the 1950s. Although the 1950s were a very prosperous time, there was a lot of civil unrest, which of course led into the 1960s and 70s, but music played a big part in all of that. So let's talk about these different types of music and the different ways to play music. So quality matters, the 20th century, which is of course the 1900s. Stereo sound permitted the recording of two separate channels or tracks of sound invented in 1931 by a man named Alan Blumlein. Analog is a word that means capturing the fluctuation of sound waves and storing those signals in a record's grooves or in tape's magnetized particles. Digital translates sound waves into binary on-off pulses and stores that information in sequences of ones and zeros as numerical code. Compact discs in 1983, Sony and Philips began selling CDs digitally recorded, which could be produced more cheaply than vinyl or even cassettes. It made vinyl and cassettes almost obsolete by the year 2000. However, vinyl has been making a comeback. You might see it in certain stores that you might shop. MP3 files began in 1992, and this format was developed as part of the MP4 video compression standard, enabling sound, including music, to be compressed into small, manageable digital files. Combined with the internet, MP3 revolutionized the sound recording industry. We are out of time. We will come back with part 2 of chapter 5 in just one moment.